before we touch the motor, it's not got a touch voltage. This box here is a simulation of that, so instead of having to take this off and the apprentices always going in there, I've now got my terminal box simulated over on this side. And what I have is a red, if you want to bring that across, the red wire there on the A phase, white wire on the B phase, the blue, which should be a dark blue on the C phase, and we're using one of the 3-phase colour codes, the brown, the black and the blue, light blue. But the problem is that this is wired in star configuration. We've got an earth, there is no neutral. Now many of the rigs around here are 24 volt, extra low voltage for the apprentices to work on. In the refrigeration trades, we use, for whatever reason, 240, 415 volts. Okay, so we must understand that this is actually operating at real world voltages. If I turn on my, I'm just going to change back over to my black cable. I've got my meter set to volts. I now have a motor which is running. So power supply is connected to earth, high voltages. I go to the earth lug with the black lead. I go to the red phase here. There's my connection. And I go between there. I have 244 volts on the A phase or the red phase. I have 245 volts, 240 on the white phase or L2, and I have 243 volts on the blue phase or L3. Okay, between the phases, from red to white I have 424, from red to blue I have 422, and from white to blue I have 423. Pretty well balanced. Now what I got to know is what circuit breaker isolates this. Now in this instance I do have an isolation switch, but I'm going to ignore that's there for the moment, and I might find that this board is somewhere else. So what I'm going to do is I could have an assistant on site, be an apprentice or a trade assistant, and he's going to go over the board, have a look at the board, and legally the board should be labelled. But we can't always trust the board because people can come along, take one of those out, shove things along, put another breaker there, and it's no longer labelled what it is. So we have to do a visual on this, and we have to confirm it, and we need to confirm it more than once, because there's plenty of times when you turn something off, you go off as well, and it's just a coincidence. So we want to do this 100 times to make sure it's right. Now, there is only one 3-phase breaker on this board, so I imagine that this will be the one that turns the power off. So I'm going to do, pop that up there like that. I'm going to put this onto the voltage, I'm now going to go between the A and the B phase, the red and the white phase. I have my 424 volts, and considering that there's only one 3-phase breaker here, I'm going to turn that one on. And indeed, the motor stops turning, and I've got no power there. Okay, so no power on that phase, A to C, and no power from B to C, and to earth, which I should expect 240. I have none of those. I'm going to put this back on, turn it back on. I need to press the stop-start switch to get that back up and running. I'm going to put that back on, and I'm going to see what happens with now 244 volts between A and earth. I'm going to turn that off, and my isolator appears to be working. Okay. Now, there is a lockable, there's actually provision on the 3-phase switch to allow for us to put a padlock on that range detector. Be warned that I have seen motors connected to VSDs with switches that look like that. You think it's a big 3-phaser, but in fact it's a data cable which goes off to a VSD, and all it does is turn off a gate. It won't isolate necessarily the 415 volts or the 240 volts. Should someone come in the plant room and override the gate that this turns off. So just be careful of that. To be very, very safe, what you need is to be able to isolate the circuit from the point of origin. The point of origin is the switchboard. There she goes. That's now been turned off. What we want to do is, we've tested before we touch, we're now going to lock out and tag out. It's even on, they've even put that on there, lock out and tag out. So we're going to do that, but to lock it out, I need my little lock dog. The old little lock dog, eh? And you pop him on like that. A bit harder with the gloves on. Now let's stay with the gloves just to show you it's not impossible to do with the gloves on. Turn the old screw until she doesn't want to go anymore. Don't overdo it. We can now, that can't come on anymore. I'm going to throw on my danger tag as such, like that. Thread that through that way like that, push him in like that, and take the key. Now, this is protected from inadvertent or accidental re-energisation of the power. The old girl is completely isolated. And we can double check that by making sure the meter is on volts, AC. I have no voltage there. I can press here like this, that's not going to come on. I've got to make sure that the isolator here, let's just turn the isolator on for fun, just to see whether or not I can get it to turn on. No voltage has come up, and now nothing here. She's all sweet. Very good.